Hey everyone, welcome to Tech Talk episode 10. I'm Andres. Thank you for joining me. This is not live, unfortunately, because in my area we've had rolling blackouts and internet outages when the power is back on. So it's like, for real. So I was not going to have a reliable stream, so I decided to pre-record this. And it was going to be a lengthier stream, honestly. I wanted to cover three main subjects. Normally my breakdown is like this. Topic, the top comment of the week, some news that I wanted to cover, that's tech news, and then the main topic that I wanted to discuss. This one, I have three topics that I want to discuss, so I'm going to breeze through the intros real quick so I can get to the three topics. Three topics being, the foldable devices that I want to address, that's one. Two, I just want to kind of wrap up this whole Freedom Phone thingy. I have to address some things there. I might have to do a separate video for that very thing because there's some things that I haven't addressed publicly that I've been addressing privately, and now it's come to the point where I'm going to go public with this. And number three is in large part due to, this is my website, www.thingjustgover.com, for those who do not know. And this week I had an episode, on the Minute Show, I had an episode with a fellow content creator who is not on this platform, but on decentralized platforms and alternative platforms. So we had a conversation about big tech and said platforms, like what, why, how they exist, and basically why be over there in the first place. So I wanted to expand and kind of put like an end cap on that by showing how I use all these other platforms where basically my show and where I, in some respects, engage. So I will touch on that, and I'm going to circle back to this episode right here. Did I force Freedom Phone to release the official specs? So that's going to be coming up. So yeah, let's get to it, shall we? Announcements. These are all the podcast distributors where you can find my podcast show. So everything that I do on the podcast is now making it over to YouTube. There's some certain things on YouTube that are not on the podcast. But here's the big but. There are some episodes that you all might have noticed where I say, that's it, this wraps it up because this segment is not safe for YouTube. Well, on the audio, there is no censorship. It's all there. So you can, if you see your favorite logo here of your favorite podcast catcher or distributor of choice, my show is there. And this week, for those of you that follow me on Instagram know, I am now officially, Galaxy users, I am now on Samsung Podcast. So that free app thingy that they have there, go to the listen section, type in my show name, you'll be able to pull up my podcast. Woohoo! Been trying to get on that thing for a couple of months now, so I'm officially on there. So I'm excited about that. Anywho, without further ado, I'm going to say the top comment for after this. You'll see why. News. Google won't let you sign into older Android devices from the end of September 27th. After that, you can't sign in on older devices running Android 2.3.7. They're like, well, that's pretty old. Well, yeah, pretty much, but that just comes to show it's not just that. Android and developers have built a functional obsolescence to your devices by, if it's the manufacturer, it's a embedded battery into the phone. You can't switch it, but if you can switch it, if you don't have the latest software, like OS for it, you probably won't be able to run it because a lot of apps, modern apps, require at least now Android 7. It used to be just Marshmallow, but a lot more are requiring Android 7, and you don't have that, you can't run the latest, or you can't even run that app, which really sucks. And that's a way to build in functional obsolescence to force you into upgrading. And another reason that's important is because there's some people that are trying to hold on to older devices on purpose. BlackBerry 10 users, you know who you are. And I told you the older way to get extend the life of your end-of-life device is to basically sideload and just use Android apps on it to get you by once the servers are turned off for BlackBerry 10. But there are others that are holding off to 4G LTE devices because they don't want what's embedded into the newer software of Android or whatever. And some people also hold on to older iPhones because they don't want the new chipset that's inside from iPhone 11 and on, because whatever's in there, reasons. But here's the thing. Now carriers, you're probably aware of this, are not activating devices that are 4G LTE but that don't support voice over LTE. So BlackBerry Priv users, a lot of you have been left out in the cold. I know that T-Mobile was still doing it, I think, and AT&T was kind of like the one screwing people over. So it's happening. They want you to get something newer people that have been de-Googling devices, they're turning to the last more advanced ones that can qualify to support to get a SIM card for it. That would be like the the Pixel 4. So that's as far as I know about that where it goes. Just giving you a heads up, they're forcing us to upgrade our devices one way or another. And speaking of devices, this is the Google Store talking about the all-new Pixel 6. What? The Verge did an entire coverage of this week, and that's where it's been making the rounds. Google is here to compete. They want to be taken seriously as a flagship contender. So expect flagship prices, folks. And this is the big deal about this device. Well, I'll show you some more pictures below. But we got to talk about this tensor thing. This is Google's own silicon. So the SoC is built by them. They call it tensor. And for those of you who are in the tech world that already know, that is known best for artificial intelligence and machine learning. So what's that already tell you? Now, depending on what you're concerned of or excited about, this is a device to be excited and super concerned about, because now they're really going to know everything about you, because this is embedded into the hardware. That's what people were concerned about, which is why some people didn't want to upgrade to the iPhone 12 or 11. They said, oh, that's just something baked into the hardware specs. I, as a techie, am excited to see this. I, as a concerned citizen, am concerned about this, but I want to see how this goes. Look, I love advancement of technology. I want to save that talk about the concerns of big tech, Skynet, and all that. I'm going to talk about that on the segment about the alternative platforms and decentralized platforms that I didn't touch on my episode on the main show. I will touch on that, okay? But just telling you, this is what the phone has, and is this the Pixel 6 Pro and the Pixel 6. These are the colors they come in. A little more warm and subdued, I would say, for the Pixel 6 Pro. Not quite as flashy and loud. That is the color I like. That looks really cool. And on pictures, most people say it doesn't look good on pictures. I think that looks pretty cool on pictures, but I know it's gonna look even better in person. This one though, I'm not sure. Usually I go for the black one. This one is not as fascinating to me. This color over here, and I should probably show them. These two colors there, they're exclusive to their respective sizes. So if you like that brighter orange, more fun color, that's only for the Pixel 6. This one's kind of like a throwback in a way to the Pixel 2 and a little bit of the Pixel 5. And then the only ones that they kind of share the same theme would be the black and titanium, I think. It looks like titanium. I don't know. But it's going to be interesting. Google Silicon, Android 12 out of the box, I think. And it's going to know everything about you. So we'll see about that. Speaking of new devices and assistants, this, ladies and gentlemen, Galaxy Watch 4 reportedly hits up 7 days of battery life on top of new Wear OS. This is from 9to5google.com. Let that sink in. Up to 7 days of battery life. So what do you mean? Running it like on monochrome, turning off the sensors, airplane mode, what? I want to know what actual usage of a watch. Because, man, that's going to beat out the actual Galaxy Watch from Samsung. Man, that is fascinating. I mean, Wear OS, well, they must be doing something special with the silicon there. We'll have to see that. And I'm sure we'll know more with the Unboxed event, where they'll be announcing this guy. So here we go. Topic number 1 is the Galaxy Fold 3. There's a Z in there somewhere, right? Yeah, there it is. There's a Galaxy Z Fold 3. Samsung, damn it. Why can't you stick to this? Stick to the simple branding. Why do you get, like, we just simplified our branding. Now we're just going to keep adding to it. That's not simplifying. That's still complicating things. It's like, look, we sold these many Galaxies. Well, yeah, but it's a whole genre in of it itself. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. I get frustrated. Yeah. Will you notice something? There's a stylus there. There's an S Pen. So you mean to tell me in one generation, Samsung made leaps and bounds where you went from pressing with the soft part of your thumb instead of using your nail because you would puncture the screen. Now we can poke at it with a stylus, and other rumors show, or leaked promotional material showed this phone in a splash of water. That rumors say it's IPX68 water and dust resistance. Folks, that's insane. That's leaps and bounds generational leap from the second gen device, the Fold 2. And like Jaime Rivera from Pocket Now says, this is from Pocket Now, he has said it before. Wait for the third generation cycle of a product for that product to hit stride. He's being proven right with this. I don't like the how narrow the phone is as a candy bar when it's closed. But it's cool that you have a full screen in the front. But when it comes to folding open, there's supposed to be an under display camera in there, so we should be able to see an entirely flush screen instead of a cutout when you open it up, which would be amazing and awesome. How would the camera work? I don't know. I know NKBHD covered this on his channel some time ago. I don't know if it was ZTE, Acer, or Asus, one of those that did the under display camera, and it was all right for the most part. Not to mention that was the first attempt at anyone to legitimately do that. And then we have the Flip 3. I never seen this one in person. I don't think, at least not opened up. I've only seen like a clamshell. So I'm curious how tall and big it does feel in the hand versus something like this. But of course, I would go for this one. I much prefer it, especially if I could poke at it with an S Pen, because then that would make it a much better experience. Because I'm used to just doodling on these things, especially because I have my Note 10, my trusty Note 10. Still, this is fascinating, folks. I am interested. Wow, I must say that's gonna be interesting to see. The camera doesn't look as protruding at the bump here like it does on this guy. So I think my thumbnail shows that the Fold 3 is greater than the Duo 2. Yes, because I am among the Windows Central users expressing unhappiness with the Duo's biggest change, and that's with respect to that camera array in the back. Oh, but this is just a rumor mill confirmed by Windows Central, and when they confirm it, they're basically the authority there. I don't challenge them. So that is confirmed. Look, on my reviews and talk about the Surface Duo, I've praised it for what it has and what it does well. The software is where it falls apart. I didn't mind the hardware because I know that you can get mileage out of this thing. But it's the software that held the product back and still does. I mean, Microsoft just gave it, what, a 50% price cut in the UK? They want to get rid of this thing before they ship this one now. But how much is this going to cost? If the Duo, when it first launched, was $1,500, and this was supposed to have 5G, more RAM, camera setup in the back, improved camera in the front. I don't know about the refresh rate of the screen. Is going to be high refresh rate or whatever. There's much we don't know. So, how much is it going to cost? North of $1,500, because this thing is already rumored to cost even more than before. And if it has everything it says it does, of course, then it probably would be worthwhile this time versus spending $2,000+ on a device and not actually being able to use it, get to baby it all the time. No, I wouldn't want to spend that much money on a device I couldn't use. I probably still wouldn't spend that much, even if it could do all that. But if they supposedly have a great trade-in program where you can even stack up like devices to trade in for it, so that should bring the price down, we shall see. This one, however, is it going to cost north of $1,500? I think it might. It might be $2,000. I love the hardware feel on this thing. And I didn't mind, like I said in my reviews, that the camera was only inside, because I think people lost the whole point. Like, oh, but there's no screen on the outside. Well, it's kind of like a PDA, but an actual super powerful mini computer PDA. The thing that held this back, though, which is why I would pick the Fold over the Duo, is because the Microsoft experience and programs baked into Galaxy. Yes, your companion thing and everything, that rolled out first to Samsung. And a lot of that stuff is still not on the Duo. We haven't gotten those feature upgrades. So maybe, will it come with Android 11? I talked about at the beginning of the episode, rolling blackouts and things. I did an entire episode earlier this year, when we had a similar experience and we didn't have any internet for like 3 or 4 days in the office, but it's all right. I plugged in my Note 10. I used Dex and how it got me through a week. But what ultimately I'm getting at is the ability to be able to use Microsoft product services with your computer on your phone that's not available on the Duo. You gotta set the Duo apart, Microsoft, if you want to do something great. And you haven't done so yet. The Duo 2, if the Surface Duo fans are already rejecting it, that device is dead on arrival, because you're tailoring it to the ones that were complaining in the first place about this device that didn't buy it. But if you're alienating the people that did buy it, that were hoping for more, and they're not gonna buy it, yeah, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. But I would have probably listened to like users, the Windows Central, like those that bought it. Like, let's survey them instead of surveying the consumer out there that like, hey, what do you think about this phone? I don't want it. No, I don't like it. I wouldn't buy it. So, well, what do you have? An iPhone. Why are you interviewing iPhone? I understand that's what you did, but I wouldn't be surprised that's what you did. Because you know who's learning their lesson right now? A lot of iPhone users that don't want to be tracked. A lot of Android users that only stuck with Android, or Samsung, to them, Android was Samsung, that they stuck around and they say, oh, I wish there was an alternative. And that's why this whole Freedom Phone, which I'm going to segue into now, like this whole Freedom Phone thing, that we need something that competes against big tech. Folks, they existed. It was called BlackBerry. It was called Windows Phone. It was called Web OS. You didn't go for it. Why? Because it didn't have the apps. And how many of you are asking about a Google device and you're like, well, can I get the apps that I want on it? Well, technically, yes, because you're on Android. Say, all right, good. I'm going to bring all my apps from my other device and put them on Lineage OS or whatever the Google phone I have. You're defeating the reason you're moving to a Google device. You're just going to have a little more control over the back end, but unless you know your way around it, you're not going to realize it. And you're still going to be using it the same way you did with whatever's out of the box available at the stores. So between these two, yeah, I got my eyes set on this guy. I am more interested on that than I am on this device. And mostly, honestly, I'm happy with my Duo. I just want the proper software support with Android 11. There's some things that I know this device is capable of that it can do. It just needs Microsoft to deliver the goods. I don't think the specs will save a phone with half-baked software. That's just the truth. And it's always been the truth. Whereas Samsung has more experience in the foldable space. And they're going to deliver all the promises that they're, well, not even promises, the expectations from their own audience that they already enjoy on the other consumer products. They're just trying to catch this product up. And if they do it, wow, hats off to them. Let's talk about this. This is the next topic over. And I guess this is where I'll mention the top comment. Because over the past week, and you could almost say 2 or 3 weeks, the top comment is the same thing said differently. The Freedom Phone is a scam. And this is not the title that you see here on my podcast that I put on the platforms. I asked the question. No, I put out there Freedom Phone official specs. But for the podcast, I put, did I force Freedom Phone to release the official specs? And I'm going to be talking about the alternative platforms to like some of the bigger known names in the third topic. But because I had to open a lot of stuff up, including Twitter, I happened to see someone respond to this, and I'm not going to pull up their comment because I'm not going to signal boost it, but I'm just going to reiterate what they said. That's funny that you think you have that much power. Like, trolls, you're going to run into them wherever. I have not publicly stated why I believed I forced it. This was around the same time that Eric Finman, CEO of Freedom Phone, was on with Tim Pool. I was not aware that he was on Tim Pool because just that very weekend, I called out Candace Owens and Eric Finman. And it just so happened, I'm not a Daily Wire member, so I did not see the episode where she's interviewing Eric Finman. There was a segment that ended up dropping on YouTube sometime later, but she had interviewed him, and I'm like, I'm gonna call him out. I tagged them both on Instagram. There was no way I expected Candace Owens to respond, okay? But she did. Basically, what I posted was this. I took a screenshot of Candace Owens' tweet and I circled the fact that she was tweeting from an iPhone. After she said she put her SIM card into the Freedom phone, and she advertised it as such. Okay, so apparently in her interview, this is her, it was not mine. Well, I guess you should read it. So I called her out on it, but I tagged Eric Finman. I've been trying to get that dude's attention, and I refused to go on Twitter to do so because Twitter is just a mirroring account that I reopened. I'm not active on it. That's why I don't know if anybody's leaving comments there until I reopened it just before I started recording. So then someone's trolling me and trying to insulting me. It's like, yeah, you don't know jack crap, so joke's on you because you don't know. So this is what she responded to me. If you watched my show and my interview with Eric, I discussed that he sent me and my husband only one phone to sample and we share it. I have 2 phones, always have. It's not a scam. The Freedom phone is great, and when the second phone comes in, I won't be using an iPhone ever again. I would never scam my followers, so I'm annoyed at the insinuation. I have a bit more integrity than that. And I'm reading straight from my DMs of Instagram. Now, I did do a lengthier response to this to her, to which she did not respond back on those. Her, along with Just the News, have been the only ones that have gotten back to me. I have yet to hear from Eric Finman. I wasn't expecting hearing back from him. I was expecting to hear back from the Gateway Pundit because I was kind of being loudest with them, and it's because I'm on some of those platforms that I'm going to be touching on in a bit where the Gateway Pundit also is, and one of the, I think the editor there, Jim Holt, I've been trying to get his attention. It's like, Eric Finman's been lying to you. So I'm probably going to have to clip this out, or maybe I'm just going to respond from my studio instead of being in my gym gear to be more official. Because as I mentioned, the only ones that have responded to me thus far have been Just the News, a news outlet. I asked for some information on my very first day that I covered this back on July 14th, and they were the first to respond. Thank you so much to them. I have my concerns. And Candace Owens, I'll say here what I intend to respond to, and I'll probably prepare a lot better for if and when I do my main response in its own video from the studio. Because I like Candace Owens. Don't get me wrong here. And for those of you that don't like her, I don't care. That's not. We might disagree on things, but I like Candace. I do believe her, along with every other outlet and influencer that have been pushing this, with the exception of a few that I don't know, because I can vouch for Dinesh D'Souza and I can vouch for Candace Owens. I believe they were genuinely duped by Eric Finman with respects to this device. And I think the facades that are cracking for Eric with the podcast he did with Tim Pool that I just recently saw. I didn't know he did that one. So then I saw it, and I did see the pushback from Tim. I must say, I actually disagree a little bit on Tim complaining about the phone being $500. As a business owner myself, from a business standpoint, acquiring a device, software support, and software engineering for that matter, building an operating system from the open source project of Android, and supposedly your own app store, and collecting all of that however you're doing it, packaging, marketing, that all costs money. Okay, that all costs money. So I understand that. And when you're gonna say that thing, oh, $500, that's a lot of money, but you have no problem spending at least $1,000 for an iPhone and then climbing up to $1,500. No, it doesn't make sense. Galaxy devices, they're all expensive too, unless you're going for the A series. The S series and Note and the Folds, I'm talking about $1,000, $2,000, $2,500 depending on what you're getting. So no, $500 in the grand scheme of things, I actually think that's fair. If from the business standpoint, that is what he's doing. The thing is, that's not what he said. And you see my episode on this one, the official Freedom specs. I point out the contradictions from Eric Finman, giving 3 different specs spec summaries to this device. The very one the Gateway Pundit published the very first moment this thing was announced. Then what he said to an interview with them about the device. And then when he ultimately went official with Tim Pool. And then he published on his website a couple of days or a few days after I called out Candace Owens in that Instagram story and Eric Finman. Now, Eric Finman hasn't blocked me on Instagram. I'm not going to Twitter to try to reach out on Twitter. I won't even be taken as a legitimate source. But look, honestly, I'm even stunned that Candace Owens will respond to little old me. But I made a very strong claim. I say, how much are you getting paid to push this thing? Because that same weekend that I reacted that way, and I'm sorry I had to react that way. Honestly, I didn't want to react that way, but I did because Mr. Who's the Boss dropped a video and gave some more background that I couldn't get because he had the economies of scale and technical know-how to get to those things. And I was mind blown. It's like, don't tell me you're in on this too. So I called her out. Her response, it actually made me feel a little more on the lines like, that's the Candace I know. And she's standing by a product that she's held and believes in. So here's my response in summary. Candace, I never said the phone itself is not real. I said it was a scam. And what I mean by that is that the device that you're holding and the second one that's intended to arrive to you is not what the snake oil man was selling. He's contradicted. He can't keep his story straight across all interviews, including with the same news outlet, about what he's selling. Does the phone have a 32 megapixel camera or a 48 megapixel camera? Oh, it's a 13 megapixel camera. So, but you said it was a quad core setup. How did it go to a triple array? How did you say it was going to cost $450, but you're charging $500, but use a promo code to drop it to $450? It should be dropped like $400. You said it was $450, but then you raise the price and then promo code brings it down if someone knows to get a promo code. You know what? Let's do this in real time. Gonna open a tab here. Let's see. Have they updated anything else? I'm not gonna open the spec sheet. I already covered this thing, unless it's contradiction. But see, there is no information about what the Freedom OS is and how it does it. There's no trust is baked into Lineage OS. So that's how I suspected this was Lineage OS from the get-go. Other people suspected it was Calyx OS and Graphene, but like, no, I pushed back on that because those are more for pixels than they are for any other device. Maybe one Xiaomi for Calyx, but other than that, that's it. And it says large store, 6-inch screen. The specs of this thing, everybody assumed it was the UMIDG A9 Pro, and I contradicted all that towards the end. It's like, I think we gave it too much credit. It's not what that is. So here's something that wasn't here before, that was after the specs thing came up. This part, full refunds and returns will be processed within 72 hours upon emailing our support team. That must mean people were waking up to the fact that this thing is not what he promised. And people started reaching out, because I reached out to freedomphone.com. They haven't responded to Mr. Who's the Boss, who has about 8 million followers. They haven't responded to me, that has a handful, a couple of thousand followers on YouTube, about 3,000 across some other platforms. So they haven't responded to me. And the specs, bare bones, like I said. So I tagged Mr. Who's the Boss in my video, and I said, yo, man, I think we gave too much credit. I think everybody did. We gave too much credit that this was the Pro phone. It wasn't even any of those. And it was made evident when the spec sheet dropped. And in conjunction with what Tim was saying, like, I don't think this is that thing. So again, I did not know that he was on the Timcast. I don't follow Tim Pool. I'm familiar with him, but I don't follow him. I didn't know they were discussing that. That very weekend they were recording that podcast, though, is when I called out Candace and Eric. Eric didn't respond to me, but Candace did, which is an even bigger deal because, like, again, someone with nearly 4 million followers on Instagram responded to little old me. I mean, that's huge. That's huge. But I did voice loud my concerns. So I believe, Candace, that you've been duped. Dinesh D'Souza, you've been duped. I don't know who that other Anna Kate is. Never heard of her. She doesn't know what she's talking about. So for those of you that claim that I don't know what I'm talking about, stay on your lane. Or how Walter says to Donnie, you're out of your element. You're not in the tech world. You don't know what you're talking about. Stick to politics. When it comes to tech, you news outlets and conservative influencers, stop pushing the device. I can say this, that after I applied pressure in the 24 hours, I saw, and just the news responded to me within hours of me posting my video on Rumble. They responded to me and gave me the podcast, just like every single other conservative influencer and outlet out there. They would interview Eric Finman, even this goes the same for Tim Pool. they would have an interview anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour, or in the case of Tim, that was a little bit longer. But they'll spend a snippet of it on the Freedom Phone itself, and maybe at least 3/4 of the entire interview to talk about big tech and all the other stuff. Not really talking about the phone. The only one that actually talked about that very thing was Tim. Again, recently saw it. But everybody else like starry-eyed. Like, no, you should have asked the technical questions, but because they don't have any technical know-how, they didn't know what the heck to ask. Those are the questions that I had immediately when I saw the ads. And we still don't have those answers. So until Eric proves us wrong, this thing's a scam. Candace, Dinesh, you've been duped. Dump those phones. I guess that's a way to segue as to all these other platforms that I'm on. The main one that I'm on is Instagram. It was a business one that I created a long time ago. So there's a third topic, folks. Talking about social media accounts, if you will. With respects to Instagram, I created an influencer account before Facebook picked up Instagram. So when Facebook picked up Instagram, I knew what that meant. I'm like, oh man, that's why I made sure to stop posting familial, like family things. And then I went back and deleted anything that was there. And I made sure to not have it linked to my Facebook, which originally it was, but then I disconnected it. Then I requested a deletion from Facebook, which usually takes 14 days. It took him 45 to 60 days to delete it. It was insane. But they did it. And with nuking my Facebook, I ended up nuking my business pages with it as well. At least 2 or 3 business pages that I had there and my customers and all that. I knew what I was doing. Parler was one that I was excited to be on before January came around and then everything else happened. Because Twitter, which is a cesspool of just vileness and just stupidity, everybody's shouting and everybody wants to one up somebody, and they just want to like the bots go out there and the SJW keyboard warriors just show up and just start throwing things out there. That's why if you're gonna be on any platform whatsoever, you gotta have some kind of thick skin. And I had to learn that through some of the hateful comments that I've received on Facebook, that I've received on Twitter, and ultimately YouTube, which for the most part I haven't received like that thing anymore. I've gotten a lot more support until I started about the Freedom Phone. But yeah, so Parler, when the fiasco happened after that, which Parler was wrongly blamed for, I talked about this in my last tech talk about the PayPal and ADL. I talked about this then, so I'm just going to say it real quick. PayPal was not responsible for what happened in the organization of groups, because you can't do that on Parler. The investigations proved that it was Facebook, but Facebook wasn't deplatformed. So we know that this was like a big tech thingy to get Parler removed because of the threat it was posing to Twitter as a whole. And because Twitter, Google, Alphabet, Facebook, all these guys share basically like the same buildings in a way, the same terms and conditions, community guidelines, and the same fact checkers. So yeah, they were all in cahoots to make sure that they were able to get this handled. It was unfortunate, and Parler did come back. It has not been able to hit stride since then. When it was turned back on, it was great. The thing was working again. Some things were broken, but then Parler did a big switch in the back end that basically they rebuilt the whole thing, and the growing pains became going backwards, and a lot of the active users ended up leaving. So it's a bit of a desert, I would say. In Parler, it looks like it's picking up again over the past week, but I am still there. I tried quitting them, but then I keep coming back to them, and maybe it'll start picking up again. We'll see. With respects to how I use these things, though, because as you can see, I'm on Parler, LinkedIn, Minds, Gap. Twitter is just a mirroring account, and I'm officially on Getter. Getter is skyrocketing, and of course, Politico with big tech is doing a hit piece on them too, because of course they will. Why can't we talk about the vileness that is Facebook and the dark web of group pages that are on Facebook, that the criminality that happens on Facebook, that apparently our intelligence agencies don't care about. All they care about is just squashing these other ones because they pose a threat to the oligarchies that are in place. Now, in the case of Instagram, that's my main one, because I've had it for the longest time compared to all of these. And it's a business one. So it's always been a business one. And once I remorphed the show, the show is where I basically push things out there, and it's just more like behind the scenes of what goes on with the show. And honestly, I'm not going to eliminate that to be on the other platforms when the audience that I have is on Instagram. They're not anywhere else. The other places I'm trying to pick up an audience, and in a way I am growing a little bit here and there to get some kind of a following to continue growing my show. But it's in Instagram where the interaction happens. That's where I've been able to secure interviews and such. So I do not agree with the mindset that no, you got to be on Twitter, don't be on anything else. That's the problem. That they say, Twitter, you don't like it, leave. Well, we don't like you, we'll kick you out. Well, that's what you're doing. You're creating thought-think, and you're creating an echo chamber, while simultaneously complaining that Gab, Parler, Minds, and all the others, that those are echo chambers because the ones you kicked out went over there, and you're not over there. That makes no sense. You have the freedom to go to those other places. They're not going to kick you out unless you're doing something that goes against their terms of service. But in Twitter and YouTube, with the ever-moving goalposts, that seems to be like a leaf in the wind. Hey, you know what? Where is it now? Like, okay, we'll do this. That's what goes on there. Twitter is just a leftist thought think there now. Yeah, of course, there's prominent conservatives that are still there, but how many other conservatives have been purged? How many Republicans have been purged? How many people that disagree with those that on Twitter have been purged just because, like, okay, forget the political side of things. Let's talk about geeks and gamers. I'm not talking about the channel itself. I'm talking about geeks and gamers. Just because you have a different opinion or because you didn't like that game or that movie or that whatever, you have SJWs that didn't even bother spending a penny to watch any of this. They just want the virtue signaling points. They go over and start reporting you and targeting you and have you put in Twitter jail or ultimately have your account removed. This is the kind of crap that happens on Twitter. That doesn't happen on the other places, but it happens on Twitter. It's disgusting. On YouTube, some people can flag it. They'll go over and start ratioing you. Show your hate, then go ratio it. You know, that probably still helps the analytics. So you're not exactly doing them that much of a favor. But when it comes to party, like I said, I'm still there. I still try to hold that hope. It looks like I'm gonna say this week I actually started picking up traction again after I said I was gonna quit. But I can't quit you, Parler. So yeah, LinkedIn business. So every now and then I'll post some of my more relevant business-centric YouTube items over there. And when it comes to Gab, this one's interesting because Gab is the second largest platform that I'm on with respects to viewership. I recently, in my stats, crossed over 11,000 views just being active here in over 2 months. People are checking out my stuff. They're engaging in the comments. I get support. Some people don't exactly like what I put, but the majority happen to like what I put out. Just like it's the same reaction that I tend to experience over on YouTube. So it's been great. Now, what I don't do, because I don't have anybody that I know that's on the Gab, I don't engage in the social side of things. I try to engage in some of the business things just to talk to other people there, but the groups that I try to participate in are basically dead. So that's where it comes down to that. I don't engage with the social part, mostly because I don't know anybody there, and yeah, that's just the way I feel, which is kind of an extension of what Minds is, honestly. Minds, I have a similar setup in that I tried to gain traction. I've had in total, yeah, I have over 1,000 views on my page, and I have 5 subscribers here, but I don't get much of any interaction here whatsoever. So that's how I engage there on Minds. Let's see, the other one, like I said, Twitter. I gotta say, Twitter, I love what they just released the latest version of TweetDeck, and I love what they do here. So this is, like I say, I don't know if anyone's commenting or anything because I'm not here, and as you'll see, I only have 5 followers. This isn't. I didn't take my existing Twitter and change the handle. I deleted my Twitter. I had like 12,000 tweets, hundreds of followers, a lot of engagement. I made so many great connections, all the great memories, and I just let them all go. I did this like over a year ago. I just couldn't tolerate Twitter anymore, and I made that sacrifice. So then I restarted it, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be here. I know it says join 2016. I remember that I had like an old account that I never used. So all I did was just switched the handle to this, and I left it as a mirroring account. So all this stuff is mirrored from like my main podcast distributor. My podcasts are sent over there, and people can stream things from here directly. So that's pretty cool. So I just treat this like another way to distribute my podcast, and I mirror my Instagram post to here. But I really wish that this kind of tool was available for other platforms, just so I can economize my time in posting, just because it's been really difficult. The closest thing that I've been able to experience, I'll show you here in a bit, but I recently started getting on Getter, and in just 1 week's time, I've generated quite a few followers. So like, okay, and people are actually engaging on some of my items here. It's only been 1 week that I've been engaged, even though I created this at the end of July. I just created the account to reserve the handle, which is kind of like Twitter. It only does 15 characters, so I can't put the Andre Segovia. So yeah, that's that. But with respects to Gab, yeah, let's see. So this is my user. I think I have to go to the home page here. So this is the home page, and if I use Gab Deck, yeah, this is the one. This is what it would look like. So it's the closest thing to TweetDeck as possible, and I really like this. But like I said, I don't know anybody here that I connect with. However, I am becoming more active on the social side by posting a lot more of my Instagram posts to here. So I'm doing an experiment to see how it works out with Gab, Getter, and Parler, because Parler can't quit you. I'm going to be mirroring a lot of my posts, not videos, from Instagram over to the other three. To see how that goes, and with respects also Minds, but with Minds I've been trying. There's just nobody there. So in summary, this is how I use it. Instagram is my main one. I'm there until I'm no longer welcome there. I'm trying to mirror as many of my posts and engagement onto other platforms because, well, yeah, I believe in being on as many as I can, but honestly, I can't be on all of them all at once. So that it is exhausting. So we'll see it's like throwing everything against the wall, see what sticks. So far, the one that I gained the most engagement on has been Instagram. And before the purge, Parler was the absolute most active one that I had. So I'm just hoping to see if it'll come back up. Gab, the Gab TV side, yeah, that's my second largest platform. It might surpass YouTube. Just FYI, YouTube users, subscribers, a handful of subscribers over there, but I'm getting a ton of play, and it's rivaling YouTube. And that's what happens when you have a decentralized platform versus an algorithm that feeds you what they want you to know and what they think is your interest. Minds, I don't know anybody there. I've been trying for months. I've been trying on Minds almost as long as Parler and just not been able to get any traction there. So it's been a bummer. Getter, I don't trust them. Not yet. But I reserve the handle, and I do post every now and then. We're posting a little more too. But Twitter, hell no. It's just a mirroring thing. I'm not going to engage there. So yeah. One day I'll talk about what I do in terms of isolation. Like I practice browser isolation on my computers, but I also practice device isolation. What does that mean, Andres? A teaser for a future episode. That's it. Thanks so much for watching this longer than usual premiere. I am going to be clipping parts of this up so I can just put them up as their own episodes, but I will be leaving this entire stream up for those of you to watch. So thank you so much for joining me on this pre-recorded premiere. Sorry about technical difficulties, but thank you for having patience to be with me. I get a lot more replay. I get more play on the replay anyway. So thanks a lot. And as always, check out my stuff at www.segovia.com, where to watch. You see where you connect. You know where to listen. This is where you can watch my show. And until next time, I'll see you on the next one.